I know on the channel people think we pick on Houston. Today, we are not picking on Houston. Hi everyone, welcome to today's lesson here at Active Self-Protection. I'm your host, John Correa.
And I'm your co-host, Neil Widener. Today's videos come out of Chicago and Nashville.
This is not a paid endorsement, but Cigars Daily is a friend of Active Self-Protection, and like Active Self-Protection, they are active in the fight against human trafficking all over the world. If you like cigars, check out their excellent YouTube channel and pick up some sticks to support the work they do.
This first one, Nashville, 1 o'clock in the morning, 4 guys just walking down the street. You see the car come by, 2 dudes are gonna jump out of that car, both armed with handguns. You see the one there that's a little farther to the left just desk popped into the wild blue yonder, and then these guys give them all their stuff. They run off, desk pop again on their way out, and everybody just kind of chills and holds there. Police haven't caught any of these guys. Second one is out of Chicago. Guy visiting his mom, coming back from the gym, back towards his mom's apartment. 3 dudes actually jump out of the car, stick a gun in his face, and they say, "Give me all your stuff or I am going to murder you." And this guy's like, "Dude, I'm literally coming back from the gym. I've got my phone and I don't have my wallet on me or anything." So they're gonna shake him down. Eventually, one of the neighbors sees it happening from a little ways away and is gonna holler at him. And when that neighbor does, he is gonna push this guy off and run for the hills, get away from these guys. They did get his phone. Cops say they're looking for these guys, but I doubt they have anything to go on. Thankfully, our good guy was not hurt.
You know, I think we say this all the time on the channel. I mean, the world is the world, and armed robberies are armed robberies, and this stuff happens all over the place.
Yeah, bad things happen everywhere.
Yeah.
We just got to be ready.
So Neil, I know we talk about the rules of stupid and not being out after midnight and those things, but I also don't want people to get locked in their home. This is a Friday night, Saturday morning. I don't know if this is a bunch of teenagers that are, they were playing Dungeons and Dragons at someone's house or whatever, and they're going to another house, or it's some friends walking home from the bar, but if you're gonna do that, you better pay attention.
Yeah, I think when you're walking anywhere after, that whole adage of nothing good happens after midnight that our dads all told us when we were kids, I get that, and there's some truth to that. But a lot of fun stuff happens after midnight, so I don't want you to have to live in stay in your home all the time. But when you're out and about, you've got to pay attention. And just because it's a good neighborhood doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't somebody stalking around looking for things, because in a good neighborhood, there are things to take, and that attracts bad guys as well.
Yeah, and they have cars and they travel, right? So this is a pattern that we are seeing more and more. So you might say, hey, I live in a good neighborhood. Great, I'm glad for you. Not everybody does, not everybody can. You live in a bad neighborhood, you better darn well be paying attention. But even in a good neighborhood, you see something like this that's odd, that doesn't work, pay attention. They might have had a time here. I didn't cut it like this, they did. You saw our perp here have a desk pop, right? He just fires a round off into the air. That is an intimidation tactic. It says, my gun is real. I am willing to press the trigger. I will kill you. And you should believe him, in my opinion, huh?
Yeah, I think if anybody shows you a gun and then they really show you that it's real by pulling the trigger, that means they'll use it, and you've got to believe them. I do think that they may have missed one opportunity in all of this. As soon as they saw the brake lights of that car stopping, there was a chance to bounce out of there. It was a short window, but I do think that a car driving by late at night, slamming on the brakes and doors starting to swing open as you're just walking down the street, if you can recognize that and get out of Dodge, they did have that small window of opportunity that I would have liked to have seen them take it.
Certainly by this point, that window is closed, right? You got a close guy, and then you got a far guy here. So even if one of them's armed, very difficult shooting problem for a defender here. Even if the guy in the far back, is really good with a gun, that guy who's far away is probably 10 to 12 yards away. The first guy maybe wouldn't be too bad. Now listen, they start running off, and you notice everybody kind of just hangs out. And I can't tell you enough, man. You got to get out of the danger zone. You got to be willing to say, okay, wait a minute. I see what people do here instead is they're like, oh, hey man, I'll just wait here and freeze and they'll let them run off. But the second you have an opportunity, my advice instead is to run hard and get away from these guys, because you don't know if they come back. And in this case, he fired a round, thankfully, into the air, but who knows that he's going to fire it back towards you instead.
Well, I absolutely agree with that. And if you look, and you may have to rewind the video just a little bit there, as the bad guys run off, it looks to me like one of the good guys' cell phone is still laying there on the ground. You can see a little light there. And if they get back in the car and just discuss between them that, oh no, we forgot this dude's cell phone, they might come back for it. And so when you get the opportunity, you got to go. And it's a small window, but you've got to take those opportunities the second you get them and take them aggressively. If it's time to go, go. I think what we see a lot of times is you see that kind of herd mentality of everybody's frozen and nobody wants to take the lead and go. So as soon as one guy goes, we all go. So you be that guy.
You be that guy. What great advice you just got there from Neil. Take the initiative. Be that guy. All right, let's look at the other one now. Again, this guy's just visiting his mom, right? He doesn't live here. He's not into that big city world. And man, there are some attacks I just think you can't get away from, right? Like we talked about, Neil, we did a first watch on this in the app. And if you're not in the Asp Unlimited app, you really should be, because we had a really good first dive on this. And I said there that, you know, sometimes Kato is just going to jump out of the closet and kick you in the face. And there's really nothing you're going to do about it. And I think sometimes in the self-defense world, we think that if you're good enough, you can get away from everything, but it's just not the case.
Yeah, you can't be in condition black all of the time. It just isn't possible. That's called PTSD, and nobody enjoys that. You've got to be able to live your life to some degree. So you've got to understand, and again, accept the idea that sometimes you're going to be behind. And most of the time in a self-defense situation, you're behind, you're reacting. So what you've got to do is be able to form that quickly, do as many mental reps as you possibly can, so that if your day comes, you have that reaction already in your card catalog to say, hey, if this happens, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, but even if you have that, like, you know, mental card catalog, you're like, hey, stimulus response. Here the guy jumps out, and the first time he knows something's wrong, dude has a gun a foot from his face. And I know some people are going to think like, oh man, Master Ken would have freaking, you know, taken this gun away and done his magic, you know, thrust of freedom on him or something like that. But I don't think that's reality, man. I think that the reality is, okay, he's at the right distance. If you have really good gun disarms, that's great. Except for this guy's got two hands on the gun. You've got to get over the startle and orient to the problem. So I think that that's kind of maybe more kung fu movie than it is real life.
Yeah, I love me some Master Ken. That dude cracks me up, and I consider him a good friend. The challenge is it's not based in reality, and he knows it too. That's parody. You know, when somebody's got two hands on the gun and it's in your face, even if you're inside that human reaction time to where you could get your hands on that gun and get it off center, so if it does go off, it isn't going to hurt you. The other thing, the challenge that you've got now is that you've got a hold of the bangity portion of the gun, and he's got a hold of the trigger portion and the actual handle. And so he's got you at a disadvantage. The other thing that he's got you at a disadvantage for is he's got two buddies that are coming out of the car. So now it's 3-on-1, and you don't know if they are armed or not. So I think that compliance that he played in this role was the right one. He found his turn and he took it when he had the chance.
Yeah, so sometimes you got to find your turn, right? I think it would have been a miracle. Even this guy is apparently a martial artist, but I think it would have been a miracle for him to find that turn immediately and take the gun disarm immediately. That would have been like John Wick level stuff here. Instead, he waits, and when the neighbor goes, hey man, and he gets a little opportunity, he pushes off and is gonna then use that to get away. And listen, I think was that dangerous? Yeah, I mean, the gunman was right there. But I think that what we don't recognize sometimes in these defensive encounters, Neil, is the fact that the bad guy has a reactionary window as well. He has to orient to the new problem as well. And so when we gain the initiative, when we start something he wasn't expecting, it takes him a minute to adjust too.
Yeah, it's like that in both of these instances, is the bad guys both have to react. And so, you know, in the last video, we were talking the bad guy, you know, to shoot him was a 10 or 12 yard shot. Well, it was a 10 or 12 yard shot for the bad guy as well. In this case, it takes him a minute to recognize, oh, this guy is actually running off. And by the time he's reacted to that, oriented his gun, he's not able to use that effectively. Even if he throws one at him as he's running away, now we've got even more people. We've already got a neighbor yelling and hollering. So all of the stuff starts stacking up against those bad guys to where they really didn't have much choice other than to get in their car and bail.
Yeah, and so again, they have reactionary time as well to see what's going on. And that's why I think he doesn't fire here, right? So this bad guy looks like he's been trained. Maybe he's been watching some YouTube videos of some gun tubers or something like that. But recognize, our good guy got the heck out of the danger zone, and he ran hard, and I think that was amazing, because as soon as you get more than about 10 or maybe 12 yards away, the average bad guy, just like the average self-defender, could not hit their behind with both hands if you drew them a map. And so if you get that farther than that away, you'll probably be okay.
Yeah, I think that's the goal of that distance. If you're getting away, get that distance as fast as you possibly can, because the average person with a handgun, even with two hands on it, can't make a 10 to 12 yard shot on a moving target anyway, or a stationary target for that matter. And I know everybody's going to tell me they're John Wick with a gun. I've just seen it on the range enough times that that's not an easy shot for most folks. You're in the dark, you're in a heightened state, and all of the different kind of things that are going on. That's not an easy shot for them any more than it is for you. And yes, bad guys can get lucky and get good shots on, but take your chance if you get your chance.
Yeah, take that opportunity that you have to get out of the danger zone. Thankfully, this guy did. Yes, he lost his phone. That's no good. Can always buy some new stuff, right? Remember what our goal here is all the time. It's to protect life. So let's learn these lessons so that we can better cover our asp.